Hey, welcome back to the channel, everybody. And today we're going to work on the oiling system. We're going to try and do this in one video. We may have to split it up into two. So I've already attached the windage tray. These motors come with a factory windage tray. On the back here, we have two bolts. They also have a stud on them, and that's to help hold the pickup assembly. And we also have two bolts here, one there, one there. And those bolts also hold the windage tray on. Now, those bolts are specific. They have a different type of head. You can see the style of this head where it's stepped. The head of the very top of the bolt is stepped. These are not. They're flat, a lot like the main bearing cap bolts. And you need to use these ones here because they have a little bit different style head on them. The head's a little bit bigger, and I think they did it that way so that you can get a little more clamping force on this so that it doesn't vibrate loose. You don't need to use any Loctite on these or anything like that. Just tighten them down nice and snug. And we use the German method, good and tight. So yeah, we tighten these down, and if you feel better to put a little drop of blue Loctite on there, you could, but I never have, and I've never seen these come loose, particularly the back ones, because the pickup assembly is going to go on here, and then there's a nut that goes down on top of this, so it's like double nutted, so keeps it from twisting. So anyway, let's get started. So the oil pump assembly, everything, it comes in three parts. Okay, let me get some light on here. There we go. It's better. All right, we have the pump assembly itself, which I've taken it apart. And the reason why I take these apart, just take this back cover off. There's 4 screws to hold the back cover on. And the reason why I take these apart, this has a little bit of scoring, but it's nothing crazy, so we can reuse that. That's no problem. If it was scored real bad, we could take it to a machine shop and have them machine it down. We'd remove this gasket, machine that down. We could also put it on a piece of glass with a piece of sandpaper attached to it and just wet sand that, and that would come out perfectly flat. So we could do that, but you can see there's marks on it, but whenever I'm running my finger across there, I really can't feel anything at all. It just, I don't know why it looks like that, but that's going to be perfectly fine. We're not going to have any trouble with that. The reason why I pull these apart is, and this is a used pump. All right, we're on a budget rebuild. I know the motor that this came out of, it was running fine, it had good oil pressure and everything, so I know there's no problem with the pump. But we pulled these apart because a friend of mine on a forum once got a brand new oil pump, and there's a piece of aluminum shaving inside the pump. He's like me, he always pulls his apart and checks them before putting them on, and it's a good thing that he did because he found that and probably saved his motor, or at least saved from shortening the life of his motor. So I'm not sure what side that shaving was in, whether it would have went back and maybe clogged up the pressure relief valve, or it might have been pumped up into the engine, or it might have just gotten in here and messed up the pump somehow. Not sure, but he doesn't have to worry about that because he checked it, and that's why we check it. So this has all been cleaned out and everything, checked it all over, make sure everything was okay. I also wanted to inspect this to make sure it was up to snuff, and it's fine. We're going to roll with it. So the first thing we do, let me set the camera down here. Try to get this set here. Oh, well, let's show you this. We have the pump assembly, we have the pickup assembly here, and then we have the attachment hardware. Those are our parts that we're going to work with today. Okay, so we're going to prop that up there. Hopefully this is going to stay for us. There we go. Okay, all right, there we go. Now, what they tell you in the manual is to pack this with petroleum jelly. And as soon as oil hits this, it's going to dissolve it. But the idea is for this pump to create some vacuum, to seal this up with this petroleum jelly, and that creates a vacuum when the motor starts to turn and this pump starts to turn. It'll create like a suction. It'll pull oil up into the pump real fast. So we don't have to go crazy with it. I've done this a few times before, and this is going to be dissolved in the oil. It won't hurt anything. And also after the initial startup and and everything. The oil is going to be drained, and yeah, we'll do probably a 20-minute, start up and everything, and then the oil will be drained, and this will be gone then. All right, so we just put a little bit of that in there. That's it. And I don't have to fill that cavity all the way full because we're going to be putting the other part of the pump in there. So I'm just going to peel that off there. There we go. Okay, now on the outside here, I'm going to clean this off. Get all that off of there. All right, there's still going to be some squeezing out, I'm sure. But we're going to drop our pump in. All we have to do is just line that up. Let's get this out of the way. I wanted to show you that later. Get that lined up and just slide it down into place. And that cavity is almost filled. And that we don't have to go crazy. It doesn't have to be perfectly packed. If you want to, you can. But again, you don't have to go crazy over it. Then we're going to take a little bit of brake clean. Just clean the surface. This is already cleaned once, but we're going to just go over it again because I got a little bit of Vaseline up there. Then we're going to take some Aviation Permatex. Get this stuff. Now, if this isn't available where you're at, which this is getting harder to find, I just use the old number 2. I use number 2 in my motors. So we use the old number 2 Formy gasket, and it's a non-hardening formula, and you can put it on there. It's perfectly fine. Now the aviation stuff, you brush it on, and you don't have to go crazy with it. Just a little bit on there, and we're going to spread that around a little bit. This stuff's pretty thin, and you can thin it further with alcohol, and that's how you clean up afterwards if you spill it or if you get it on you. You can see we got a little bit on the pump there, but that's not going to hurt anything. All right, so there we go. You don't have to go crazy with this. It doesn't have to be dripping all over the place. There's this gasket on here is going to seal it pretty well. All right, so now we just drop this on, and we have some self-centered, we have tapered head screws that self-center this plate to keep it from walking around. So we're going to put those in. 1, 2. I think probably what we'll do is just assemble the pump today and show you what all is involved there. And then the next video I'll go over, the torquing of the pump and everything. I'm trying to cut these back a little bit. We're doing this stuff in real time, but yeah, I don't want to get in here where it's a 30 or 45 minute video. And I need my ratchet, so yeah, we don't even need that right now. You just turn them down like this. It's a little easier to do it this way. This is a T30 Torx bit. And we don't want to just tighten it all the way down. We want to get them all kind of snug down a little bit. Here we go. Get this one. And then this one. I don't even know if that sealant is really necessary on there, but I like to put it on there because I don't want a hemorrhage at the back of the pump. As this thing pumps, I don't want this, maybe pulling air or oil leaking out of here. So we'll just get this, tighten it up. And you don't have to go crazy on these. Just like that, that's enough. It's enough. And that is enough. And that's good. Okay. All right, so we got that done. Now on this side, this is our pressure relief. And this is where the pump builds up so much pressure for the motor. Anything extra that the pump sees, it just gets spilled back into the oil pan. Well, there's a spring in here, and this is where that comes in. All right, so from here, now we got this little cover plate. This also serves as a gasket, sealing surface over here for this part of the pump body and the pickup assembly. Okay, so I'm going to tilt this up just a little bit, maybe try and get a little bit better view. There we go. Okay, so what we're going to do with this one is we're going to use this anaerobic sealant, and I'm going to put just a real tiny bit. And this stuff is hard to get out. Just a little bit. Don't have to go crazy with this stuff. Don't need to squish it out all over the place. Just need to seal that. There's nothing in the instructions that says you have to do this, but I like doing it because it's a steel shim gasket, and I want to make sure that we seal it up all the way. So I don't need a big thick bead in there or anything. Just a little bit. I can even smooth that out with my finger a little. And this stuff goes a long way. You don't have to put too much on. I just hate to see people who just glob. I'm even pulling some off there. Probably got a little bit too much on there. Even though I just put just barely any on. And that's all we need. Nothing crazy. Nothing crazy. So this goes down on here. Alright, just like so. Pretty easy. And this, it's pretty nice. This has some locating, like a locating tab here on the edge. Okay, I hope you can see that. And it kind of locates it on the pump body. And then we got a couple screws that go in here. A couple of screws there. And we're tightening a bolt into an aluminum pump, so you don't have to go crazy with it. If it makes you feel better to put a little bit of Loctite on these bolts, you could, but I don't think it's really necessary. They have a lock washer on them, so there we go. Okay, yeah, that's plenty tight. Okay, all right, now next thing we do is we're going to take our pickup assembly, and I'm going to degrease this just a little bit. It looks a little bit oily. I did clean this. I'm going to take a little bit of brake clean on a rag. Clean that off. Kind of defeats the purpose to have sealant on that and then put an oily surface up against it. So from here, take our assembly here, place this like so, and we have two bolts here that we're going to put in. Okay, and that is these. Put that in, and this is all that holds that pickup assembly to the pump. This is it. So if you get a 10 millimeter, a 13 millimeter, and a 15 millimeter, you can just about take the whole motor apart. But GM, in their wisdom, they kind of get you chasing around a little bit here with these different sizes. Like the whoops, socket. These are 10 millimeter. These are 13, and the bolts that hold the windage tray on are 15, and the pump housing bolts are 15, so you have to keep changing sockets. There's a bolt up here that's 10. Just tighten down. Close it out. Come on now. Again, you don't have to bear down on that too hard, just get it nice and firm. Okay, now that we got I'm going to move this up a little bit more again. Try and show you here. Now that we got the pump assembled, which we're already at 14 minutes, but we got the pump assembled. We're going to finish this up in the next episode. I'm going to show you a little trick. This bracket goes underneath here, and this is what stabilizes the oil pickup tube to keep vibration from cracking this, and this is absolutely essential. Don't put the motor together without this. All right, But there's a little trick on how to do that, which I'm going to share with you in the next episode. And next time you see this, the oil pump will be going on a motor. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe.